Hello everyone, this is Yusuf Laraj, a Moroccan English language teacher and researcher. I conducted a study on Moroccan university students' views and attitudes towards the place and status of foreign and national official languages in Moroccan education system. I'm glad to share with you my findings, and I'm very thankful to the organizers of Vocal 10 for having invited me to deliver this presentation, share with you some important issues regarding Moroccan education and the language policy of the country. So the outline of this presentation goes as follows. Introduction, research problem, research motivations, research objectives, research questions, methodology, results, and conclusion. Well, I summarize the introduction in 4 main points. The first, as most of you know, Morocco is a multilingual country, and that the education language policy endorses the use of national or foreign languages. In the Constitution, Modern Standard Arabic and Amazigh are considered official languages, and the 3 major languages in education, not the languages taught, but the languages which are used as a means of instruction, depending on the phase and level and stream, are Standard Arabic, French, and English. So the problem is that the official discourse endorses the teaching of official and foreign languages, yet this vision seems to be ineffective and facing opposition by different social groups. This research investigates the university students' views regarding the place and roles both national and foreign languages do and should occupy in education. A variety of motivations drove me to embark on this research. First, my personal interest in the topic, my academic concern as a researcher, and I have studied about this topic and written about similar topics. Professionally, as a teacher of English, I grew more concerned about language education and language policy in Morocco. And this topic is of concurrent debate. It has been discussed and still being discussed at different levels, at the political level, the public level, in the media, and so on. So this research aims to attain 3 main objectives. First, to explore the status of each of the main national foreign languages in Moroccan higher education today, to see what language plays what role. Second, to compare the roles and importance of national and foreign languages in higher education. And 3, examine the possible impact of promoting foreign languages in education on the value and status of national languages and eventually identity. To this end, the research raises 3 main questions. First one, what is the space and roles given to each language in Moroccan university? How do students perceive the promotion and importance of foreign languages, and what are the parameters which should guide their language choices in their views? To what extent could foreign language education affect Moroccans' national identity and the language? To embark on this research, I adopted a mixed methods approach. That is triangulation. So on the one side, I used the quantitative method. I employed the questionnaires, which were filled by 312 participants who were randomly selected, and they belonged to multiple universities and higher education institutions across the country. On the other side, I employed the qualitative method through using the interviews, which were answered by 45 informants. I adopted the convenience sampling to select the interviewees who belonged exclusively to University Mohammed V in Rabat. The findings. Concerning the situation of national and foreign language teaching in Moroccan higher education today, the official discourse says the following. It says that Arabic, Amazigh, French, and English are the four major languages in education. Arabic and Amazigh are official languages, however French and English are not official languages. So concerning Arabic, the official discourse says it is a compulsory taught in all school levels, and it should be also given the chance to be a means of instruction, a means of research in scientific higher education. Amazigh, which is newly an official language in the latest constitution 2011, is said to be compulsory in the primary school and will be generalized through all the schooling system. French, the leading and the most important foreign language in Morocco, is compulsory throughout the whole schooling system, and it is a teaching language for some scientific content and subjects starting from middle school. English, compulsory language since the intermediate stage, waiting to be introduced at the 4th grade of primary education, and a teaching language for certain content modules in higher and vocational training. Well, this is what the official discourse says at the discourse levels. However, in reality, this is not necessarily, being executed. Of course, the Moroccan educational system, other languages are used. Other foreign languages are taught, such as Spanish, German, and Italian. Now, in reality, asking students the languages they study in their schools, the responses show that French is the language that is most taught throughout all the Moroccan education system. So students either study French alone, or study French and English, or study French and English and Arabic, or French and Arabic even. So we conclude that almost every single Moroccan student studies French at the level of higher education. However, the second segment of the students say they study English, either English alone or English and French, or English, French, and Arabic. However, for Arabic, it's almost absent in higher education, not to mention Amazigh, which is not mentioned at all. There is no existence for Amazigh, which is an official language in the Moroccan constitution. Well, after asking the students which language they study in their schools, now comes the question, which language is used as the medium of instruction in their schools and universities? Results again show a stark leadership and dominance of French. Almost 90% of the students use French, or 90% of the schools, if I could say, use English as French as a medium of instruction. Very few, the remaining 10%, employ English as you see. So the chart leaves us no comment on this. Now, I asked students about the language they prefer to be a means of instruction. Now we saw that the Moroccan official languages are not taught, they're not used as a means of instruction. We saw that French dominates higher education's teaching and training. Now, which language students prefer to be used as a medium of instruction? The results show that almost 3/4, as you see here, prefer English to be a means of instruction, while the remaining share prefer French, and a minority prefer modern standard Arabic. So you see that even there is a kind of dichotomy or disparity between what is said in discourse, what is implemented, and what is preferred or wanted. We move on to the second major element of this research, which is the roles and the importance of national and foreign languages in higher education. I asked students first to see what they think are the criteria that the policymakers should take into consideration before making language policy and making language choices, especially concerning the choice of the medium of instruction. I used the interviews for this answer. The questions were open and included no options. The answers came diverse and very different. However, I could rank them or categorize them into three major classes. First, a major segment of the student says we should consider the language which has a weight in economic life and employment. So testimonies such as, in my opinion, we should choose the language most popular and spoken in the job market. Target the job market. Have future career prospects. Or facilitate access to employment. As you know here, as you see, most students say their testimonies in French, which is the language assumedly they master most. So as you see here, students would use the word or the phrase job market, career prospect, access to employment as the major criterion for basing the choice of the medium of instruction. A second faction of students says that we should consider the language that is most used internationally, worldwide popularity. So testimonies such as the importance of language in the world, the most widely used language worldwide, the popularity of the language internationally, the language that has the most weight in the world. For them, it is the language that should be used, should be taught most, and should be used as a means of instruction in higher education. Indirectly, these testimonies refer to English and not French or even Arabic. A third segment of the respondents says that we should take into consideration the major of the study, the specialty, and take into consideration the scientific value of the language. Sample testimonies for this strand say the scientificity, a student coined this word to refer to the scientific value of the language are most used in sciences and allows for easy accessibility for scientific content, scientific research, scientific criteria, the chosen major according to specialty and major, facilitate accessibility to knowledge resources and current developments. Now, what is the usefulness of each of the three major languages, Arabic, French, and English, in the student's lens? For them, as for Arabic, there is a kind of disagreement about its importance. So you have students saying it's useless, others say it's useful to some extent, others say useful, others say very useful. And as you see, the rates are like there's no big difference among the percentage of students holding each attitude. They're very close. However, when we go to English, to French, we'll see that there is some kind of, the idea is a bit, the student have major trends or mainstream tendency. Very few say useful, it's useless. Also, few say it's useful to some extent. A big rate say it's useful, and others, similar rates, say it's very useful. When I go to English, the rates are telling. So you see that almost all the students say that English is very useful. They do not even say useful, they say it's very useful. Very few say useful, and almost a very rare vote say it's useful to some extent or it's useless. This tells us the importance of the three languages in the students' minds. So for them, English today is the most useful language, the language that affects their career trajectories most, and the language that can affect their success academically and professionally. The last point concerns the potential impact of the promotion of foreign languages in education on the national languages and the national identity and culture, asking students whether the promotion of foreign languages would undermine and jeopardize the use of national languages. The results show that students are disagreeing over this idea. However, most of them say it's unlikely, meaning that the promotion of foreign languages is just for pragmatic ends, just to have access to resources and to study contents which need the language, and this will not affect eventually the status of language or the national identity of Moroccans. Still, important rates say it's likely or to some extent. Well, I would summarize the findings of this research in four main points. First one, the foreign languages are imposing themselves in higher education, given the very positive attitudes both students in the interviews and the questionnaires hold toward them. The pragmatic stance has overwhelmed students' perceptions of the criteria for language choices. We see that students' judgments are not emanating from emotional drives, or however they see what is good for them, what's affecting most their careers. The national languages are not well esteemed in regards to their academic and professional value. The promotion of foreign languages is not perceived as threatening the status and value of the national languages. Having come to the end of this presentation, I'd like to again thank the organizers of the Vocal 10 who did their best to ensure a very smooth progression of this academic event, and I thank also the participants and attendees who are very careful and attentive in following the presentations. I'd be very glad to share with you more content, more findings, and more ideas in the discussion. Thank you.